Oh, hi James. You just called me restringing my baritone. I thought I would do a little multitask and see how well this goes. I've got a bunch of things to talk about. I've got a bunch of other clips to show you. And I'm gonna restring the baritone and I'll talk about this guitar at the end, as you so kindly requested. First of all, first thing that I want to do is show you a little before and after tour of my flat that I'm currently in. So here's that. Welcome to Will House 2.0. James, this is my new bedroom, complete with ultra massive bed, floor width bed. And let me give you a little bit of a tour. So we go through. So that's the bedroom. That is the bedroom. So it's gonna be like bed, bedside table, wardrobe, chest of drawers. Lovely, absolutely delightful. This is going to be the guitar room, complete with stain in the carpet and broken plug socket and stained walls. We have the bathroom. We've got little alcove for all your storage-based needs. We've got lampshade, which is too big. We've got kitchen, and then this is your living room, complete with pretty weird little light fitting. And look at this, James, look at this. I don't know if you can see that because it's a very small screen that I'm looking at, but there is the shard. I've inherited a little beaker and some dead plants, so that's always a good time. And I've also got repent, believe on the Lord Jesus Christ, and you shall be saved. Which is just the most me thing, really, that you could ask to be. Jesus Christ is the way, and the truth, and the life. So I feel like this should be in pride of place in this building. I should wear this all the time. So James, this is my new place. The landlord is going to come and do some repainting and do some fixing and all that type of stuff. I'm moving in T- 3 days. It's Monday now. I'm going to move in on Thursday, which is all good. I can't get over this. Like, I can walk into this kitchen and then walk out of it through a different door. What kind of kitchen has 2 doors, James? It's just wild. What kind of person needs an entire room? Well, now you're not the only Dixon bro. You're not the only Dirtbox bro with a music room, because music room that you can just imagine. Imagine like guitar there, amp there. Oh, it's just going to be amazing, So, there you go. That's Shay Will. Right, the Will House 2.0. There you go. That's the one. Oh, lovely bit of the countryside. Not countryside. Bit of shrubbery between me and the train line. There you go. And here we are with everything all set up, apart from the... Fine, James, look, fine. I don't have bedside tables yet, but I've got all of this. Got my nice living room with my desk set up there, the view and stuff, all that type of stuff. Most importantly, the repent Jesus Christ is the Saviour thing. I'm putting stuff on the walls and getting more artwork. There's all my coats. And then, most importantly, here is my music room. And it's just lovely in here. I've done a fair bit of music in here already, and it's just great having a dedicated space to sit, play guitar, restring guitars, drink turmeric tea, and film little videos. So there you go. I've got some notes of things that you mentioned in your video that I want to respond to. So of course, very pleased that Jeff is okay. Love the way that the weight sounded in both modes that you played it in. I really liked it when it was just completely dry. It just sounded really nice and crisp.
Obviously, it also sounded really nice with all the delay and reverb and everything on it. Isn't it interesting how different guitars and different guitarists gravitate towards different sounds? And as you say, you don't really have like a set tone that you go for. I've certainly not spent all that much time piecing together what my acoustic tone is like when it's all plugged in and stuff. But I've certainly spent, as you can see from behind me, I've certainly spent a lot of time and money on pedals for my electrics. I can quite gladly spend an entire episode of this just talking about guitar pedals. The Maton's jangliness. Now, it was perfect, but it was also a little bit jangly. Now, what I've done since I made that last video is change the strings again. So I'd love to show you what the strings sound like now that they're all worn in, but actually they're brand new strings again. So that guitar was set. It was tuned to D standard, so the whole thing was down a step. And I'll come back to why later on, because you brought up talking about tuning, with 13s on it, and I've now changed it. I've put 12s on it and tuned it up to standard. So that is putting the thinner strings on there decreases the perceived tension, but then raising the actual tension up by actually tuning the entire guitar up. So it was a balancing act of drop it down a little bit so you can raise it up the exact right amount, and it's now even more exactly how I wanted it to be, and I'll play it for you in a sec. But yeah, it's just a joy. I think it's got quite just a bright tone to it. Fuck yeah. Fingernails. So I think it was John Butler was the first guitarist I saw using the whole fake nails thing in that amazing version of, is it the Rothbury version of Ocean? It's just got like a claw of big nails and stuff. It's interesting that the guy you mentioned goes and gets it done at the manicurist. You going to give that a go? That might be quite interesting. I am very glad to hear that they're going to grow back. They're going to get tougher and tougher and tougher. The idea is that I want to be playing with my nails so I can get all the attack going. But then also have access to the fingertips for the softer stuff. So just keeping them really short and just really kind of digging in. It's just something I'm finding really interesting. So I'm glad they're going to get stronger and stronger, because otherwise it's just going to be a really inefficient way of playing guitar, really, which will be a bit of a shame. And as for the romantic thinking versus the classical thinking, I think you're pretty spot on there. It's very much along the lines of, I know it's not the same thing, but similar ideas to left brain thinking versus right brain thinking, isn't it? It's quite similar stuff. Believe it or not, this takes a 12 on the bottom. Is that right? Does this just not say? Right, yeah, these are actually in the wrong order. So the two middle strings are actually octaved, like a 12 string, which is part of the joy of this instrument, because it's, rather than it just being a straight baritone, which can get really kind of muddy because it's all very low, these just brighten everything up. Yes, I accept cookies. But only after dinner. Yeah, so the romantic thinking versus classical thinking. It's interesting, isn't it? Because you would think that after 20 years, I've been playing for about 20 years, you've been playing for just over 20 years, you'd think that we would both by now have accumulated more classical style knowledge and like expertise in how our instruments work and how to fix them if we needed to. There's something to do with the way our society's set up, whereby we don't have to. Like, I'm a cyclist, and other than being able to change a tyre, I don't know the first thing about bike maintenance. And that's just wild. We've got access to those services they're so like readily available that it just kind of takes away that entire sector of knowledge about the thing that you are most passionate about. Because, yeah, I don't know how to adjust a truss rod. You see people online who are beginner guitarists who will take their guitar to a guitar shop to get it restrung or to replace a broken string. And kind of like, it's easy to look at those people and be like, oh, just do it yourself. Just come on, just learn how to do it yourself. But everything about our society is set up so that that's what you would default to. It's quite arbitrary in a way that changing strings is the one thing on a guitar that we know how to do. I just thought that was really interesting. So I'm looking forward to you getting a bit more classically minded on all those different things. So James, 543-6243. I will practice that. I haven't practiced it at all so far, but I will practice that because picking patterns wise, I have just been defaulting a lot to the picking pattern from Guaranteed by Eddie Vedder. Ooh. I really want to work on making my thumb more independent from the rest of my hand, because that's what it needs to do, isn't it? Oh god, it just hit perfect glugging temperature. You gotta glug. You gotta glug when you can. You know, glug when you can get it. Now, so you mentioned being in tune with oneself. This is taking ages, isn't it? I completely get that if you just play by yourself, then there's not really anyone else to be in tune with. And I think it speaks volumes about us as guitarists that we've both been quite isolated in a way. You've been in bands, I've occasionally been in bands and stuff, but really the majority of our time as guitarists and performers has been just doing it by ourselves. That certainly led to a level of musical self-sufficiency, I suppose. Now I do put myself into specific tunings because I'm quite a restricted singer. I'm not a very good singer, basically, and because my range is quite restricted, and there are certain keys and things that feel good, and I've got songs, if I've got songs that have a low bit and they've got a high bit, then I need to carefully balance what key they're in. The two songs that I tune to the opening note of In Your Honor by Foo Fighters, which is an E, and I tune to the opening note of Killing in the Name, which is a D. So they are two of my most played songs on Spotify. So who needs an auto string winder when you can just do that? Look at that. Oh, bing. And yeah, and so my justification for having all the different guitars I have is they're all in different tunings. I mean, they're all in standard tuning, but they're all in different keys of standard tuning. So I've got the Dirt Box, which is in standard E standard. I've got my Godin, which is in D standard. I've got the Maton, which is in E standard. I've got the Big Baby, which is D standard, and I've got this, which is baritone. And the reason I keep having guitars in D standard, is because of my voice again. I kept on writing songs and then realising that I'd written them too high, and then without wanting to like change the fingering of them, I would just want to bump them down a bit, so I'd then just play them in D standard. And then I realised I was starting to write songs in D standard that I was singing too high as well. I thought, well, I need a baritone. Whereas really what I needed was singing lessons. So the other stuff that I've been doing, James, recently is a lot of... If I just put the wrong string on... I put the wrong one on! Oh, fuck off. Now, do I have a 14 in something else? 15. I can't take that off and put it back on a different string, can I? This is why you don't get a weird guitar, James, because then you don't have to fuck around with weird string lengths on it. Yeah, no, James, he's fucked it. He's fucked it. That string is a no-go. That is a lost cause. Now, should we put the 13 or the 15 on there instead? I'll think about it for a bit. That's more like it. That's a proper cheese wire. James, restringing guitar and talking at the same time is quite difficult. Oh, yeah, so, James, the other really interesting thing, well, I think it's interesting, really cool thing that I've been doing lately is I have taught myself how to program drums on Logic Pro X because I'm a filthy Mac user. Now, I'm not going to the extent of trying to make them sound incredibly natural, but the reason that I'm doing some drum programming is for my drummer Owen. So I've written a lot of rock material for my band, both over the years and also recently this year, and we only have a very limited amount of time each week to work on that. So in order to make things easier and quicker and more efficient and better use of particularly his time, what we are doing is a bunch of pre-production. I am producing basic demos just so that he can get an idea of what the beat is. So here's a little clip of that for you. And in a comparison to the actual song which we played in our band practice this last Tuesday. You freak me out. You freak me out. I don't know why you come in for now. Now, James, the story of me getting this guitar was I did what you're not meant to do, which is that I went to the shop to play it, having basically already decided that I was going to get it. But in my defence, I brought along my friend Jill, who, fun fact, I met on my first ever Tinder date. Apparently all I did during that date was talk about my ex, and bless her, Jill still wanted to hang out and we ended up being quite good friends. So Jill, if you're watching this, hi, you're a good egg, and I miss you. Come back down from Scotland and come and say hi. I took Jill along and was like, Jill, you're here to temper my reaction. And I'd done some research and I was like, yeah, this looks like this is probably the type of guitar that I want to get. And I'd called up the one Taylor stockists on Denmark Street, Rose Morris Guitars, who are pretty good guys. And I called them up and I was like, do you ever get these Taylor baritone 8 strings in stock? And they were like, yeah, we've got one in stock now. I was like, right, I'll be there at a weekend to have a little play. And I played it and just fell in love. And I was like, Jill, I shouldn't buy this. And she was like, no, but you're going to, aren't you? And I said, yes. and I signed up there and then with a little credit check on me, and I signed up to pay £60 a month for the next 2 years in order to pay for this thing. And it nearly crippled me financially for those 2 years. And it was worth it. Because it's cool as hell. Now, interestingly, this, even more so than what I was saying about the Maton last week, this is a guitar that tells you how to play it. It knows how you get the best out of it. And this is not a finger picking guitar. This is a pick up the thickest pick plectrum that you've got and hit the strings as hard as you like, because it'll respond well to you, which was the entire point. It's interesting because the strings are so bright, and because Taylors are generally quite bright, but it's a baritone, so it's low. It's got a really interesting kind of slightly metallic-y tone to it. Nearly there, James. We're nearly there. Just 2 more strings. What I should have done is just restring this yesterday and then record this as a normal talkie video. But for some reason I thought it would be really good if I just tried to multitask it. And this has probably been really boring and quite frustrating to watch. So you're welcome. Oh yeah. Twisty, twisty. Right. The 13 or the 15. We're going to cannibalise this one. Let's put a 15 on there. So this is a set of strings. This is a set of 11s that, if the 12s hadn't settled the Maton in exactly the right place, I was potentially going to use the 11s if I needed to go even lighter. So these are sacrificial strings anyway. And it turns out that the 12s were perfect. So, yeah, that was a good little click, wasn't it? That was nice. The best thing is that for me, this has been like an hour, but hopefully I will have cut this down to something. The wonders of video editing, eh? Right, the strings are all on. Let's tune this. Right, I would like a B, please, Dirtbox. And obviously the way to think about it, if you're looking at it and trying to think about how to transpose stuff, basically is that it's all just a string down. So like a D minor shape that's an A minor, that's an E minor, that's obviously a B, that's a G, that's an F, no that's not an F, that's a C. And you just shift everything down but keep the same shapes. So you just think about it. It's interesting. It just opens up like new tonal qualities and new things to explore. New like they've got really. It's not like a bass. It's got kind of like a throaty tone to it, which I always really like. If you're thinking of getting a baritone, you should totally get a baritone because they're sick. They're really, really cool. And I should play this more. Actually, I'm going to write some stuff for it and I'm going to include it on an upcoming EP. Not my next one, but probably the next one after. And then the last thing to show you is the Maton, which is now much... it's just so clean now. So crisp now, like you got exactly the right level of punch for the quiet stuff and for the low stuff. Like you can go like, also be like. Now, embarrassingly, all that putting pressure on the strings up there has actually made this hand feel a little bit weird. So, I'm a lot worse. Trust me, I'm better at finger picking and playing guitar than it has come across in the last couple of seconds there. James, that's all from me. I've now got to sit down and edit this monstrosity of a clip down into something, and I hope you have a nice week. I'll see you in a couple of weeks. It's going to be good stuff. Right, catch you later. Bye.